These Ukrainian soldiers aren't shooting at Russian soldiers. Their gunfire is trained towards the sky, where one of their greatest adversaries approaches, the watchful surveillance cameras of an Orlan 10 drone. These are Russia's eyes on the battlefield, one of their most vital weapons. And some of the electronics that put them up in the air don't come from Russia, but Ukraine's allies. So I'm headed to an undisclosed location here in Ukraine where sources have agreed to walk me through exactly how they hacked a Russian arms maker that's trying to source Canadian technology for its weapons. This is a Ukrainian hacker who is part of the Cyber Resistance, a group linked to secretive sections of the Ukrainian government. This is an STC document. CBC News is hiding his identity for threats against his life.
Big military companies, which works in Russian, are our top targets. So STC was on the top of our list. This is one of the biggest manufacturer of military equipment for Russia.
STC, or the Special Technology Center, is a St. Petersburg-based defense contractor that makes Orlan drones and supplies them to the Russian military. The Orlan is able to jam communications and help Russian crews spot and target Ukrainian troops. The Cyber Resistance hacked the email of an STC employee and gave the cache of data to CBC News. Then we reviewed it.
After analyzing it, we found out some invoices with the Western companies, suppliers, maybe even some intermediate companies who helped Russians to buy different electronics and equipment from different countries.
Among them, 2 from Canada. Montreal-based tech companies AimTech and Exfo. Both had their electronics appear on STC supplier lists of targeted foreign components. Nothing suggests their parts were knowingly provided to STC, but doing so would be a direct violation of international sanctions against Russia.
Today, I'm authorizing additional strong sanctions and new limitations on what can be exported to Russia.
This is how we as a government can really have a strong impact.
This hideous and barbaric venture of Vladimir Putin must end in failure.
At the beginning of the full-scale invasion, Ottawa sanctioned the Russian military-industrial complex, including STC, and issued harsh crackdowns on all exports of microelectronics. But Russia has been finding ways around them. Because drones are game changers for both sides in this very modern war. So I'm at a secret Ukrainian drone training school, and even more than artillery shells or bullets, in this war, drones are king.
Before, military had to do the reconnaissance. It was always going by your feet, and it was very, very dangerous. Right now, we can use the drone, and you save lives by that.
This is a Ukrainian drone operator, call sign Vitol, who was on the front line, but now he's a trainer.
Right now, Russia is taking over the drones. The beginning of the war, of course, we were ahead of them, but they started to do it very massively, and they put a lot of money in it. They have more quantity of the drones that they are using.
To feed that demand, STC appears to be sourcing Western electronics that Russia can't make enough of. Ukraine not only recovers Orlans in the battlefield, but they then forensically take them apart and find Western electronics inside of them.
In every Russian missile, there are critical components from Western countries, dozens of components in every missile, and it's true. It's fact.
They still receive the Western technologies to produce their equipment, including the drones that we're discussing right now.
This Ukrainian military commander has direct knowledge of the hack. He goes by Serpin, and CBC News is hiding his identity because Russia seeks out officers like him to assassinate.
The EU, US, Japan, and other companies that belong to the countries which impose a different kind of sanctions against Russia. But as we can see that it's not so effective as it's described, for example, for the majority of the population or the majority of the world.
And experts agree.
Because there is actually no Russian weapon without Western technologies.
Olena Bilasova is a senior research analyst at the Kyiv School of Economics who tracks Western components in Russian weapons. Her team says Russia and companies like STC sourced $22 billion worth of Western components for their weapons in 2023 alone, tracking 2,800 parts and counting. Key to Russia scoring these electronics, front companies and middlemen.
As far as we know, it can be sometimes up to 5 different intermediaries to get those components.
And of those, she says a majority percentage come from Chinese distributors. To get answers from the other side, we head to Ottawa. This is the Russian embassy. Ben Makuch, have a seat right here. Hello. This is Russian ambassador to Canada, Oleg Stepanov.
We know that Canadian parts, and not just microelectronics, are ending up in Russian weapons, things like missiles and drones. How do you account for that?
It's a globalized world, right?
We know there's a global shortage in microchips, but those types of microchips also go inside of things like Kinzhals and Orlan drones, stuff that your country is using and needs for its war efforts in Ukraine.
The most advanced parts of Russian defense sector production have always used only Russian components. And I will never believe that in a product like Kinzhal, any hypersonic weapon or nuclear capabilities, there is a outsourced components.
How about an Orlan?
It's a very simple part of technology.
So it is possible that Western parts end up in an Orlan drone?
It is possible, but not necessarily. I would doubt that my country is going to use or try to find sources for that production in the West. I believe in our defense production we are quite self-sufficient.
Sanctions in recent weeks have definitely expanded. Are you saying they're not hurting you?
No, not really.
Both Exfo and AIMTech declined our requests for interviews, but sent statements. Exfo says that it does not sell its solutions into Russia, but has no visibility to any potential alternate means of supply via other entities or countries. AIMTech says its products are neither designed nor intended for military or aerospace applications. STC did not respond to a request for comment from CBC News. What can governments do here in the West and in Canada to improve this and stop this problem from happening?
It is very important to continue blocking that intermediaries, and we exactly know who are them.
To her, responsibility also rests on companies like Exfo and AIMTech to track who's distributing their goods.
They should make their companies more responsible for not only conscious supplies, but also unconscious supplies. This will force corporates to increase their compliance.
These electronics might seem harmless, but they're not. Do some of those Russian weapons with Western technologies, do they kill civilians?
Of course, obviously.
What message do you have for Canadians that will say, why is it important that parts from Canada are being targeted for use in Russian weapons and drones?
And my message is that if you close your eyes on the problem of the Ukraine right now, so it could be too late if you open your eyes and see the chaos, you see the destruction of your life much closer to your country, and maybe someday it will come to your country directly to your home.